Hello. I'd love to share some words from a talk from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, as printed in Volume 13 of a compilation of talks, Likutei Siches, Chelek Yud Gimel, of this week's Torah portion and how it relates to current events. So it's quite interesting. It's pretty amazing. One of the things that's happening right now in the world, as I'm sure anybody who's even a little bit connected is aware of, is the Iranian regime is getting hit very, very hard. And one of the things that happens in the times of redemption, and we're told by Maimonides that in the times of redemption there won't necessarily, in the first stage of the times of redemption, there won't necessarily be open miracles, but one of the things that happens is there won't be, as he says, the only thing that will change in the physical landscape at the beginning of the times of redemption is there will be no more subjugation to the regimes. And this is something that we're seeing happening in real time, um, and is a cause for celebration, cautious celebration, although there are certainly some things that are coming along with it, some that are not positive, and we've lost people from the Jewish nation, and there have been quite a few tragedies. Um, so, not to diminish that in any way whatsoever, but um, to put that in its proper place, and feel the proper amount of uh, devastation, and yet at the same time notice the miracles that are happening in front of us and not dismiss them because of our uh, frustration at some of the things that we don't understand happening in the world. So, in this week's Torah portion, it starts off talking about the spies that were sent by Moshe, by Moses, to the land of Canaan to spy it out, and that God told him to send, or said, if you would like to, you can send these spies to look over the land of Canaan and find out what its weak points are, find out what the people are like. And so we're going to go into that, and this is the name of our Torah portion for this week is Shlach, which is send forth. Okay, so we've already spoken many times that the point, the essential point of every single Torah portion, and all the specific parts of it, is hinted in the name of the Torah portion, and these names, the name of this week's Torah portion is called Shlach, again, sent forth. And from this is so we understand that the essential point, the underlying point of all the things spoken about in a particular Torah portion, is hinted to and in the name. And we have to understand this, because this concept of sending forth spies, which was just something that happened once to the Jewish people while they were in the desert a long time ago, it doesn't seem like a perpetual story that we're living. Where, and there are, within our Torah portion this week, there are other mitzvahs, other commandments that are for generations. There's something that apply to us today, including the mitzvah of tzitzis. Tzitzis are the fringes that Jewish men wear on four-cornered garments, and they hint to and remind about all the mitzvahs in the Torah. like it says in the Parsha, and you shall see them, and you shall remember all the mitzvahs of God. So you actually have a mitzvah, a commandment, that hints on all the commandments in the entire Torah, and that comes within our Torah portion, and yet the name of the Torah portion is something that happened once, that isn't perpetual, and doesn't seem to doesn't seem to be something we do on a daily basis. It's just some story about spies once upon a time in the desert, and it also doesn't seem to hint on doesn't seem to be as general as the mitzvah of tzitzis, which is in our Torah portion, and which hints on all the mitzvahs, all 613 commandments and points of connection in the Torah. So why is the Torah portion named shlach, named send forth? What is the what's it hinting at? What's the reason of the name that it becomes the essential point of the entire Torah portion, the entire one of the 53, the weekly Torah portions that we read? And to understand this, we have to first understand what the spies did wrong, right? So it seems like they did what they were asked. They were told they were sent there to check out the land, to see the land, mahi, what it is, and the nation that lives on it, whether they're strong or whether they're weak, and the cities, whether they live in camps or whether they're in fortresses. And it seems like they came back and they said the people that live on the land are and the cities, they're great, they're big people, and they seem to be the children of giants we saw there. So it seems they did give a accurate report based on what was asked of them. So what's the problem? And the explanation of what they did wrong was this: Moshe Rabbeinu didn't send them specifically to find out what the easiest way to conquer the land was, and what was the most appropriate place to start that. What was the weak points to start that infiltration of the land in a natural way? Because God doesn't do miracles for no reason. So we have to partner with God, and even if there will be some sort of miracle, we have to do what we can in a natural way. But Moshe wasn't asking them to let him know whether or not it was conquerable. So he was asking how we're supposed to partner with God in order to conquer it. And they finished off the report with a conclusion that said, we're not able to go up and conquer this nation because they're stronger than us. So they saw the difficulties with conquering the land of Israel in a natural way, and they made a conclusion they're not going to be able to conquer it, even though God has commanded them to conquer it. The God who created the world, who took them out of Egypt, and their conclusion was the issue here. So, although they did a report on what they did a situational assessment, they also came with a conclusion that was their own conclusion, that was not what they were sent for. They were sent just to figure out how to go about it, and not to figure out what was the whether or not they could. Moshe they'd already been told that they could by God and by Moses, as far as I understand. So according to this, we understand that the lesson from the story of the spies is actually something that is applicable to the Torah as a whole, and to all the mitzvahs, the commandments, the points of connection that we have with our Creator. the fundamental principle in fulfilling the mitzvahs is the knowledge that a fundamental principle in fulfilling the mitzvahs is the knowledge that since they were commanded by God, it's clear that it's possible to fulfill them. Because God doesn't ask us anything that we can't do, that isn't in our capabilities. So even the average person, using his, if he knows what he's talking about, what the situation is, he wouldn't ask someone to do something that they're unable to fulfill. It's just not something that's a logical thing to do. Like, especially if the commandment comes from a person that is doing this request, this mitzvah, this commandment or point of connection, this thing that's being asked of them. Like, for instance, if you ask a worker to create some sort of a bowl for you, a vessel or something, that you want to ask someone who's able to do it. You're not going to ask somebody who is incapable of doing something to do something for you. It's possible that you don't know what their capabilities are, and you can make a mistake with that, right? But when it comes to God, who is the essence of good, and he's just, he wouldn't ask us something, he wouldn't give us a mitzvah to do that is not within our capabilities, which again, are capabilities that are given through that commandment. So when God gives us a commandment, he's actually giving us the capabilities to fulfill it as well. So it's impossible that a person that God should, and God himself is not making any mistakes with about our capabilities. Like, oh, I thought God's not looking at a person saying, I thought he could do it, and oh no, he wasn't able to, he's incapable. God gives us the capability, and part of the request, the commandment, the point of connection, the opportunity is that capability as well. So after you know this, after you understand this fundamental principle, also with regard to fulfilling the mitzvahs, we don't rely on miracles. And kind of the opposite. That the essential point of the mitzvah is to fulfill them in a natural way. Because since the main concept is the main point of mitzvahs is to make a dwelling place for God in this world, in the physical world, that's the point, is to make this place a home for God. So you have to, because that's the point, you have to do it in a natural way. It's not about being aloof and being somewhere in the sky. If you're trying to make the physical world a dwelling place for God, you need to do it in a natural, physical way, so that the nature of world itself, of this world, can become a home for God. You could be on Earth and doing something lofty and great and amazing out there by meditating in the clouds, or some people are regardless of what method you have for reaching these spiritual heights. But if you're not doing it in a natural, practical, step-by-step way, then you haven't changed the nature of reality. But if you do it in a natural way, then you actually are able to change reality. So, which is the point of doing mitzvahs to begin with. And therefore, it has to be this we have to have this concept of sending forth to spy out, to in order to know, we have to send forth. Again, this is like the deeper concept of the name of our Torah portion, to send forth to conquer, in order to know how you're able to do this commandment that will elevate nature itself. So we have to investigate. We have to look at what God has commanded us and think, like, practically, how am I able to do this in a natural way that will actually change nature? Because that's the point of the mitzvah to begin with. So again, rewind. We start with this fundamental principle that God is not going to give us something that's beyond our capabilities. And in fact, by God asking us to do something, He is giving us the capabilities to do it. And the fundamental principle that the whole point of doing this thing that God's asking us, God who is the essence of good and is just, is to change reality and to make reality spiritual, to make reality divine and holy, and that's His desire. The way to do that is in a natural way. So what is the spying? What is the sending forth? Or it's this investigation that we have to make, how we actually do this practically, how we elevate nature to make it divine. So since this lesson is applicable and necessary in every single mitzvah, therefore we start the story that is the preparation for entering the land of Israel with this mitzvah, because with this story of the spies, because the entering into the land of Israel is an essential concept in the mitzvahs as well, in all the mitzvahs. And the explanation is like this: the purpose and the essence and the superior quality of the land of Israel is explained in the verse that it's Eretz Asher Einei Hashem Elokecha Ba Mereishis Hashana V'ad Achas Hashana. This is a verse that the Rebbe told people when they were afraid to be in Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, during previous conflicts. The Lubavitch Rebbe told them that don't worry, because this is the land that the eyes of God are on it from the beginning of the year until after the year, and that there's a supernal providence. God is watching over the land of Israel in a revealed and internalized and integrated into reality kind of way, more than in other kinds of lands. This means that in the land of Israel, even in the physicality of the land itself and the way it functions, godliness is felt in with a much greater revelation. So, according to this, it's understood that the what we're doing when we draw down holiness and godliness into physical and physical things is it's similar. Every time we draw down godliness into physical things is similar to entering into the land of Israel. The thing that the person's doing, the effect he's having on the world is similar to entering into the land of Israel. By doing the mitzvah, he is entering the land of Israel, because the fulfilling of the mitzvah, like we said before, is drawing down godliness in physical things so that the physical reality becomes a dwelling place for God. So this means that similar to the concept of Israel, which is a place that is already naturally permeated and filled with godliness, and it naturally functions in a godly way, by us doing a mitzvah which changes the physical reality and makes it and elevates it to be divine, we're doing this same concept. We're entering into a place where, like Israel, where nature is a place where divinity permeates. So each time we do a mitzvah, we're on a deeper way. We're entering into this land of Israel, this place where God lives. We're making this a place where God lives. So the additional general lesson that relates to all mitzvahs is that you send forth spies and you investigate the land of Canaan. Before every mitzvah that a person does, he has to. A person must contemplate what the point of the mitzvah that he's about to do is, what the essence of it is, what's he actually doing, and not just in its specific context of the specific mitzvah he's doing, the specific point of connection that he's making with God, but rather in its general also in its general thing of what all the mitzvahs do, that he's fulfilling God's desire. This is what God wants. And like before we make a blessing, the language of the blessings that we make on the mitzvahs, which tons of people know the blessings, and not everyone knows what they're saying. We say Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu, because he sanctifies us with his mitzvos, his points of connection, his good deeds, and he commanded us. So what does this mean? That through doing the mitzvahs, we become holy. He sanctifies us. He makes us holy. And so by through doing the commandment that God commands us, we become holy, and then we become unified with Him, and that is, He sanctifies us. And again, the word mitzvah, although often translated as commandment, comes from the term, the language of tzav v'chibor, which means actually binding and connecting, tying yourself, joining with God. So this blessing, we say it before for the majority of the mitzvahs that we when we do a mitzvah. It's the general blessing for mitzvahs that we do say blessings on, and before we do them, to show that before we're doing the mitzvah, we need to contemplate the purpose and the general concept of all the mitzvahs as well. Because again, this is a general language of the general blessings. So before we do any sort of mitzvah, we have to think about what we're doing when we connect to God, when we do this commandment, which is our way of unifying with God. And also when we study Torah, which we're doing right now, before you study Torah, you're meant to make this bracha, a blessing before studying Torah. And in the morning, I woke up and I made this blessing, Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'nasan lanu es Torah, so that He chose us from all the nations and He gave us His Torah. This means that God gave us the Torah in a way that it is His, how it exists for Him, by God Himself. This is His Torah. And we finish off that blessing, Nosen HaTorah. He is giving the Torah. It's a actual thing that we should see this concept of the giving of the Torah as if it's happening new every single day. All the mitzvahs should be in our eyes as new each time we do them. A person has to always think about this before he studies Torah. And again, before doing the mitzvahs, we have to think about these concepts of what it is. So before doing the mitzvahs, we have to think about what we're doing. We're connecting to God, and it's making us holy. That we're fulfilling God's desire and purpose before doing the mitzvah. And before studying Torah, we have to think about the fact that it's like we're getting Torah right now, and in a way that it is God's Torah, not in a way that it relates to us, the way it is by what God actually wants. And this is the lesson of investigating and spying out the land of Canaan, which is said as a preparation for entering into the land of Israel. Before doing the mitzvah, a person has to investigate. He has to contemplate and think about what its purpose is, and what's the purpose of the Torah, what's the purpose of the mitzvah that he has come to study or to fulfill. And according to this, once we get that, we're able to understand why the concept of sent forth. That who sends forth? Moses does. Moshe himself is choosing to send forth. And we all, as we know, as the Rebbe often highlighted, we all have a spark of Moshe inside of us. There is a bit of Moshe, of Moses, within every single soul of the Jewish people. So there's a foundational point of the whole purpose of the whole part of all the things that are mentioned in this week's parsha is they're all called sent forth. They're all called by the name. The parsha is called Shlach, which means send forth. So all the portions within our Torah portion are about sending forth. And it said at the beginning of the Parsha, at the beginning of our Torah portion, before all the other mitzvahs, like we said before, that come in our Torah portion, because the lesson that we have to learn from the sending forth from the spies is a preparation and a foundational concept to doing every single mitzvah. But we still need to understand something. If this is this concept of doing this investigation, doing this contemplation, is such an essential idea, we would think that it's necessary. You need to do this before you do any mitzvah. So why is it that God gives Moshe the option of whether or not he wants to send forth the spies? Like Rashi explains from his words that it wasn't God says you choose whether you want to send forth spies or not, and it's understood by this, by what we've explained before, that the purpose of doing Torah mitzvahs is to draw down godliness into physical reality, and like it says in the Medrash about what the innovation of the giving of the Torah was that the below went to above, the barrier, the world, the temporal world's heaven barrier was broken, and the below was able to go to above, but above was able to come to below. The difference between the above that we're talking about and the below, between creator, so to speak, and creation, is that the creator is on the level of providing, of giving forth, of offering flow, and the creation is on the level of receiving. The creation himself doesn't have any personal existence, but he receives his existence from the creator. So, being that the concept of the giving of the Torah and the mitzvahs is that the below should go to above, to the level of above, that the thing in the world needs to elevate toward, it means, so to speak, that like the creation becomes like creator. It's understood that the purpose of this elevation is that the below should go to be on the level of provider, of something that's giving, similar to how the creator, the above, the God in this scenario, gives us our existence. We're also meant to give and become on that level of provider. And like the sages say, we become a partner with God in the creation of the world. That we become providers, so to speak, and people who are involved in the creative act, in creation, in making, in the world being. So, like and like the Torah says, and also in Torah, like the sages say, that God says you have defeated me, my son. You've defeated me, and this is a point of pleasure. That when you're a partner with someone, sometimes one person does it comes out victorious, and sometimes the other one does. So when that the Jewish people are able to add and give forth and provide within Torah itself, they're able to not add new commandments, but add insights and add light and add ideas, and in Torah itself we become partners with God, and we're able to provide within Torah and within the world. According to this, you can understand that the lessons that we mentioned with the concept of sending forth and investigating, this concept of contemplating before you do something, before you do a mitzvah or study Torah, is not, it can't be a commandment. It can't be something you have to do. This is what God's telling us to do. Because when a person does something that God, the Holy One, blessed be He, tells him to do, even though through this he is elevating reality, but it's not a complete elevation that he becomes a transmitter, a provider, a creator, so to speak, of being on the level of above. Why? Because he's not doing it from himself. God's commanding him to do it. When God commands you to do something, he's, again, like we said at the beginning, he's giving you the ability to do it. So if he's giving you the ability to do it, he's the provider who's giving you abilities, and you are doing what he's provided. You're a receiver. But to become a provider, you have to choose it. It has to be by choice. So when it's with your own knowledge, when you're choosing to do a mitzvah, to do this investigation, to start off and contemplate about what it is you're doing, God isn't telling you to do that. You have to choose it. It has to be with your own capabilities, with your own desire. So then because only then are you able to elevate and become a provider, so to speak, become a giver, become a creator, and someone who partners with God in the creation of the world. Because then you're doing it with God's knowledge, and you're doing it with your own knowledge, by your own desire, your own will, and with your own capabilities. And it from this we can understand in depth, in a much deeper way. It's amazing how the Rebbe ties all this together, and it's so beautiful. The reason for we need to have the story of the spies before all the other commandments that are in this week's parsha, because it's not. These aren't just. This isn't just a story that happened once about the spies, but this is a essential, foundational lesson that applies to all the Torah and all the mitzvahs, and that comes before even the mitzvah, like we said, the mitzvah of tzitzis, which is, again, includes and reminds about all the mitzvahs of the Torah, the fringes that are reminiscent. They remind us of all the mitzvahs in the Torah that we have to do, all the mitzvahs in the Torah that we have to do. But there's something that comes before that. This voluntary desire to do God's will, and to investigate and contemplate how you're able to actually change reality, change nature itself, or rather bring out within nature the essential bit of it, which makes it a home for the Creator, and filter out all the other stuff, and make it so that the below, which is the purpose of all Torah and mitzvahs. Understand the purpose before you do them, to make it so that the below, the world itself, actually is able to go up and elevate and become refined, and a dwelling place for God, and is able to reveal its true essential nature as a godly. And so this is a talk from the Lubavitch Rebbe from the year Tufshin Lamed Beis, which I believe would be 1972, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm very inspired by this, and I hope you enjoy it as well. Wishing you all a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and may we continue to see miracles and not see any more losses or tragedies, as in a natural way the world becomes transformed, refined, and people are on board. Everyone becomes more on board with the truth and what's just and good coming to light. All the best. May we only have blessings and cause to celebrate.